It's finally time for us to talk about the 10th generation of Pokemon. The leaks have been crazy, and we're gonna break it all down for you guys right here, right now. Strap in. If you've been sleeping under a crustal, then you've missed out on the fact that Gen 10 has leaked, and we've got tons of information to cover about the brand new Pokemon titles, most likely coming out in 2026. It's gonna be a crazy year for Pokemon, and I, for one, am very excited. So I'm gonna get you guys up to speed and talk about some new stuff that has surfaced over the last few days that you may not have seen yet. And again, get you guys all caught up to speed. So make sure you guys hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I'm gonna post a ton of content going into Generation 10, including all the rumors, leaks, and more, and you don't want to miss it, so hit that subscription. But let's get it started here light, kicking things off. First of all, let me tell you guys the titles. These are going to be called Pokemon Wind and Waves. That is going to be the brand new titles based on leaked internal documents from Pokemon. These brand new games are going to feature turn-based combat returning. So that's a big switch up from Pokemon Legends EA, but no surprise there. However, it does say that battles are a fluid version of the combat system from Legends Arceus, where you kind of have your rapid style. You have the ability to kind of change up whether you're going to hit harder or faster, indicating that this is going to be a more fluid version of that approach, which I find to be very interesting. Battles occur automatically on the overworld map, so I think that's quite interesting as well, being able to engage directly into battle with opposing Pokemon, and maybe even having multiples. And it says that there is freedom of character movement during turn-based combat as well, just like in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I do like. The fact that you can kind of circle the battle, kind of run around, feels like you're more involved in the battle, feels like more is going on, which I think is a huge win. And ultimately, it says area attacks and effects are added to combat moves, as in Pokemon Legends ZA. So that's something that I really liked about ZA, is like toxic spikes, you throw them down and they're like, you see them on the field. I feel like it brings a lot of this to life. So I'm curious how they hybridize these two systems together to ultimately create this really interesting gameplay dynamic where you've got, you know, turn-based battles, but with similar features of Legends ZA. We've also got a post from Ball Guy here saying the greatest example I can provide for this is a more seamless version of Legends Arceus combat. Automatic, occurring battles, free roam movement with a plethora of additional moves from ZA, such as AoE effects and moves. TLDR, it's turn-based, yes, and the best possible implementation. I actually grew to really like Legends ZA. I thought that the combat style of ZA was actually quite a bit fun. It was better than I thought it was going to be, if I'm being honest. But I think if they're able to hybridize that with kind of a turn-based style, that could be really welcomed all in all. Now, there's a few things I want to talk about here because there's a lot to get you guys caught up on regarding Pokemon Wind and Wave. So let's break it all down. These are going to be the official Gen 10 names for the Pokemon games, and we are anticipating these games to release end of year of 2026. I think we'll probably find out on Pokemon Day. So February 27th, I believe it is, of 26 is when we're going to get confirmation of this. Based on some leaks from Riddler Coup, the box legendary Pokemon in Gen 10 will have designs tied to themes of Wind Grandpa and Wave Grandma, hence the name Pokemon Wind and Wave. This is directly from Coup, but the leaks reported by Centro match the Wind Grandpa and Grandma bit. And allegedly, these logos had appeared on 4chan a few weeks prior, so we'll see if we can get you guys those on the screen. But we do have kind of the Japanese version of these logos, so this is all seeming to be actually real. Like this is real stuff, which is pretty crazy. The Gen 10 starters will be found within a big city, and the starting location in Generation 10 is a big tourist city. So you'll have obviously new starters. I, for one, am always excited for the new starters. I remember so many times being able to react to new starter Pokemon with you all here on the channel. Players will start in a Pokemon Resort Hotel and meet NPCs there, as well as other players. Now, here's some of the really interesting stuff that we dive into, and that is procedurally generated content. So Pokemon Wind and Wave will have procedurally generated content, mainly islands and one special Pokemon. So think of it as like everyone's experience is slightly different. The setting for Pokemon Wind and Wave is Southeast Asia, according to the leak. So there was a lot of thoughts that maybe this region would be based on Greece, maybe this region would be based on something else, but it does seem as though it's going to be based on islands in Southeast Asia. There's going to be procedurally generated islands in Generation 10, again, kind of creating new experiences for every player. Then, and this is the biggest curveball of them all, there will be a special critter called Seed Pokemon, which will have a base form with procedurally generated details once it evolves. According to the leaks, the Seed Pokemon in Gen 10 is needed to face the box legendary. So they're going to give you this this very unique Pokemon that is going to be different for everybody. A simple way to look at this is like, think of Spinda in a way, how Spinda has like infinite combinations on how many patterns it can have and what the patterns actually look like. Think of that, but in the context of like this little seed Pokemon that will ultimately grow into like a flower or some sort of a plant or whatever it may be. That is the idea here, is that this little guy is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's going to have kind of their own thing going on. And I think this is an area that you're going to see explored more in games as the technology continues to increase, especially with artificial intelligence. There's a lot of opportunity for these types of implementations to exist in the video game sphere. It's going to be crazy to see how it's done in Generation 10. So that's going to be very, very interesting to note. There's some other interesting notes here, though, is Pokemon Wind and Wave will have MMO-style content, like raid battles, social hubs, and shareable maps. So we've seen some of this already in the past in, obviously Scarlet and Violet. You can play with friends and kind of roam around the overworld. We've been able to do raid battles and things of that nature. It seems as though they're going to continue to lean into the multiplayer aspect of the franchise and allowing players to connect with each other to enjoy their adventures and share their adventures together. Wind and Wave is going to include underwater exploration, jungle biomes, and there's actually going to be a theme of survival, which I think is really interesting, that we're going to be able to kind of explore a wide range of different biomes, a wide range of different areas, and the fact that people's experience is going to be unique, I think is going to be super cool to see. Kind of gives me like Minecraft vibes in a way, in that like you kind of load up a seed in Minecraft and it's the world is generated differently for kind of everybody. All Pokemon in Gen 10 will be interactable with. The bigger Pokemon will be rideable, and then you'll be able to pet all the Pokemon. So being able to kind of build these relationships with your Pokemon, I find to be quite interesting. I'm curious to see how the ride Pokemon are going to work, but this seems like a massive project based on the leaks we've seen so far. It also goes on to list that the battle gimmick for Gen 10 is going to be weather-related moves. So we just obviously saw the Terras being a big focus. We went through Gigantamax and Dynamax. We went through Mega Evolutions and now revisiting Mega Evolutions. And it seems as though weather is going to be a big factor here going into this game. Pokemon Wind and Wave is going to redesign a bunch of models, which we've seen. Charizard, Pikachu, Machamp, Lumineon are all confirmed to have new models, and it seems as though the team is going to be polishing and adjusting these models going into this new title. We have seen some different images and graphic leaks about some wind and water simulation. I'm going to hold off on posting any sort of internal visuals there, but there's been a lot of stuff there. And then kind of the last thing is that it's kind of like they're hybridizing gyms and Titan Pokemon. There's going to be ultimately 18 challenges for players to be able to beat. These challenges are based on sustainability. So there's 18 total challenges, one for each type. These are inspired by sustainable development goals. Clearing all 18 challenges allows you to be the champion. So there's some interesting sustainable goals that you guys can review, like no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, gender equality, affordable clean energy, life on land, a lot of different stuff. So there's a lot of really interesting themes and ideas going into this game. Several screenshots have obviously leaked. We're not going to show any of those in this. And then Gen 10 is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2. So that's going to be something to note. It seems as though that it will be exclusive, which I got a Switch 2. I've been really happy with it so far. I played ZA on it. I had really no issues. I had like one issue where I like glitched into the ground, but it was pretty minor. So honestly, I'm very excited for that. And I think that it's going to make the gameplay experience really, really great. I'm super stoked for 2026. I'm hopping on the Pokemon bandwagon to cover content here on the channel in a big way over the coming months. And a big part of that is, one, I'm excited for the DLC. I'm excited for Pokopia. And I'm excited for Gen 10, baby, because it's going to be time for us to bring some awesome content and have some fun with a new chapter of the Pokemon franchise. I've been playing this game since I was 6 years old, man, so it's gonna be a wild time. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Wind and Waves, the new titles for Pokemon Gen 10, and all the information we've had here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I'll be covering the content right here, right now. You don't want to miss it, so get that subscription going. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys on the next one.